Okay, the time has come. I'd like to call to order the Selectboard meeting of July 23rd. And if you please stand, join me for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the
flag and to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chair.
Prior to this meeting, we had an executive session. No action is coming out of it. The purpose of the meeting was really legal matters. And Carrie had joined us in that meeting. So as Al requested, we're going to change the order of business and ask that Jill Berry-Bowen take the floor and give us a presentation on NMC.
Great.
There you go. Okay,
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Jill Berry-Bowen, the CEO of Northwestern Medical Center. And also to start us off this evening, we'd like to make a presentation to you first on behalf of Rise Vermont. And I'd like to welcome Jessica Frost, who is here as our wellness specialist. I know she works with you in this community. And also Dr. Elizabeth Fontaine, who is the Rise Vermont medical director and medical director of our lifestyle medicine program at Northwestern Medical Center. So this evening, so please join me. So this evening, we would like to present you with the Silver Rise Vermont Scorecard Award for the municipality. So I'm not sure if you're all aware, but we have an opportunity to work with schools, with businesses, and clearly municipalities to work on scorecards and how to create healthy environments, make a healthy movement apparent. And through your great work, in just riding through the Bay, whether it's your market on Wednesdays, whether it's the sidewalks, I know that you have a grant to start a trail construction in the town forest. There's just been a lot of work to create a healthy infrastructure for the community. And so we're here to award you the Silver Municipality Award. And Jessica, since she works closely with you, will tell you a little bit more about that award and then also what could be in your future. But first and foremost, we're grateful for your support. We're grateful for Carrie's leadership to help share in a vision of wellness. She's been right there from the beginning with establishing Rise Vermont, and she continues to be right there as a community leader representing the town so very well and how we have an integrated vision for the future. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carrie, why don't you receive it on behalf of the town since you're the one that's doing all the work?
I will do it. Actually, no, I think the whole town did a lot of it.
The question is,
Take a picture too.
what do you have to do to get the
Nice.
So just to give you guys a little bit. Oh, should we do the picture first?
Oh, I guess we could.
Picture first.
Yeah, perfect.
Just to give you a little bit of the background, we do everything in scorecards. So we meet with businesses, we have a bronze, silver, gold. We meet with schools, classrooms, and municipalities. So I believe right now, you might be one of only 2 silver municipalities, and I think there's 1 gold. And then a lot of the other towns we're still working with at the bronze or even partnership level. So the actions you guys have taken this year around the sidewalk plan, the new market in the Bay, the town forest, are really helping to create this healthy community, like Jill said. To move to the gold, a lot of times it's putting these practices that we have into a policy. So having the smoke-free signs at the Bay, maybe turning that into a policy or an ordinance down the road. And I did bring copies of the scorecards if you guys were interested in just looking them over.
Does that also give us what goals we need to do for gold?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Carrie and I met probably 3 years ago and started the work on these scorecards.
Thank
So
you.
it's been, change is slow and it takes time. And as long as we keep plugging away little by little, it'll really make a great impact not only on the health of our youth and our community, but it makes St. Albans town a more desirable place for people to live.
So would we get points if we could get the whole select board to walk with Dr. Fontaine next week?
Yay! is. Walk with the dog. Thank you, Al. Appreciate that very much. So again, congratulations for that piece. The other section that I'm here to talk about, and I'll ask Dr. Fontaine to join me, is about our work as an organization and the strategic planning that we're doing. And we're doing strategic planning around many different things based off our community health needs assessment. But this evening, to go along with the healthy environment, we wanted to talk more about the vision for well-being. And the conversations that we have, again, thanks to Carrie, she's in the middle of it and sometimes often spearheading these conversations. When you think what's happening, in the town and in the city and at the hospital, and how do we actually integrate our visions? And the hospital wants to be a catalyst to bring our wellness visions together, so that what the hospital is doing complements what you're doing in the town and clearly what's happening in the city. And we couldn't be more grateful for your consideration about talking about not only sidewalks, but how we get this path to Collins Pearly, so there's connectivity in how to get there safely. And so when you think about the hospital, here we sit in the kind of in part of the center and connecting the town and the city. You think about Hardack, what's going to be happening there, and then we think about what's happening downtown and then down on the bay, and then what's happening at Collins Pearly. How can we have a connection, and you're at the forefront making those conversations happening and hopefully those decisions. So we're trying to assess, and again, talking with Carrie and talking with Dominic, how can the hospital be a complement to all of the great work that's going on, and what role do we actually play? And in thinking about our campus, we want to be out into the community, like with Jessica and others, spreading that out and going where businesses and the communities and schools, of course, are. But then what should be at the hospital? What can we be a catalyst to continue on this vision of well-being? So I'd like to have Dr. Fontaine talk a little bit about what the vision is for the hospital, and then we can talk about more how that connects with your work already. So, Dr. Fontaine.
Thank you. So I'm Dr. Elizabeth Fontaine. I'm the medical director of lifestyle medicine in Rise, Vermont. And for some people that might have known me, I'm an OBGYN. I practiced here for 23 years. But starting with physical education and also a master's degree in obesity and exercise physiology, I had the chance to come back to, things that I had been working quite a bit when I was younger. I like to start with, it's interesting, this weekend I went to Quebec City. It was my birthday, decided to go there, see family. And it's interesting that this meeting is happening at this moment, because when I was there 20 years ago, I was working actually into the domain of exercise and obesity. And it was very different as far as what the city looked like. Going there this weekend, I'm a biker. First of all, I had the chance to see that, they had all these different communities that were separated, and now it's all Quebec. It's all in one. And the bike paths that are connecting all these places are just amazing. I had the chance to go from my friend's house to do all around, following the St. Lawrence River, going out up to the old part of the city, all around. I did 30 kilometers, 30 miles, but I could have done 100 kilometers. They have all these bike paths. And what's so amazing is to see how many people are using this. If you create the environment, people will use it. People will become more active. You're going to see your people, walking around, biking around. It is amazing. I cannot tell you how much I was amazed to see that. So just a little bit aside. As far as the hospital, I think that, we have a potential chance of being able to develop a center that I've named the Center of Optimal Health. I'm not quite sure we're going to keep that, but I've always said it this way, and people kind of buy in. As a physician, I realized that being able to help people in their health is very limited when you see them in the office. I mean, there's so much you can do trying to tell them the right message. What works is when you said the right message, and that you potentially have health coach working with you, and then being able to send them in a community that has made these arrangements that allow people to be more active, so that it becomes kind of second nature. What we want is to have people having a place where we can design optimal health to bring them to an optimal well-being. So ideally, there's this, second floor of our MOB that is not occupied at this moment, where we would like to develop this place, where an individual after, let's say, cardiac rehab or any injury would potentially start their journey there, or even anybody that hasn't had the chance to go to a gym because they're so uncomfortable, we can help them to start their journey. And then having this connection with all the other center, we are not taking place or replacing the local gym. We're there to introduce people to a change into their lifestyle. So we're hoping to have a center where there would be lifestyle, where we would have a kitchen to teach people how to eat healthy, where there's a progression into their change in their well-being from being potentially a sick individual to a well individual, and bring them out to the community. Do you want to say more?
No, I
to
think
this?
that's great. I think the MOB that we're talking about, if you come to the hospital and you see that new second floor, you can see, oh, there's a second floor to that building. That is vacant. And so down on the first floor is primary care, urgent care, and orthopedics, and that second floor is vacant. Thinking about this vision, in the direction that we want to take, where we are a campus. When you see the road sign that has the blue H on it, you would see that takes you to a hospital. The blue H for this community takes us to a community centered on health. And so we want to make sure that what we do with that second floor is a complement to the infrastructure that you're building, the city's building, so we become part of the connection. And as Dr. Fontaine said, maybe we get people started on their journey, and then we help them connect, because we've got sidewalks and we've got systems throughout the community that allows the healthy choice to be the easy choice, because folks are surrounded with the infrastructure that supports that. And I'm grateful for these conversations with Carrie and with Dominic. So how should the hospital fit in this journey? Yes.
Joe, well, first, I put a bicycle on the horizontal bar between the two vertical columns for H.
I like how you think.
But both my wife and I were cardiac patients. My wife went to Northwest Medical Center Cardiac Rehab. And there, the nurses worked with her for, I don't know, maybe 6 months. Mm-hmm. But she, first of all, established a very close relationship with them that continued after she was, so to speak, discharged to the Collins Pearly.
Yes.
And so she was set up, and she was, I don't think she told who she would meet at Collins Pearly. Then at Collins Pearly, not only did they introduce her to all the equipment, but they also told her about the walking path, which she also used. So
Nice.
My question is, this happened in 2007. I assume it's still going on, that
Yes.
type of service.
Yes.
So what I hear you, but you're talking something beyond that. Or for those people who aren't cardiac patients,
Yes.
what?
Correct. So it's an enhancement to what we're doing, and it's more of a connectivity. So as you think about someone coming in or having a cardiac event, they might go to cardiac rehab, they get referred to Collins Pearly, but then they may be going back to work, and they may be going back to their community. So going back to work, the businesses have scorecards as well. What does their wellness policy look like? Or they're going back to school. What does that wellness policy look like? So we're creating a community infrastructure that when folks, it doesn't just happen on the second floor or at Collins Pearly. Wherever they go, we're making it easier for them to continue the learnings from cardiac rehab and from lifestyle medicine, so they can continue on that course and sustain their new healthy behaviors beyond that 6 weeks or 6 months. So we have other types of patients beyond cardiac rehab that we'd be working with, and hopefully even folks who aren't sick yet, that we can keep healthy people healthy by introducing them to different lifestyle changes to prevent them from progressing into a chronic condition.
So my next question, and then I'll stop, is we have a major drug problem in this area. Mm-hmm. How do we, and there are resources for people who are trying to fight addiction, but how do we get those people who are not yet ready or maybe already in rehab programs, but how do we invite them into this healthy lifestyle, not to put an issue of your drug addict,
Correct.
but just to start the process of here's the way other people live, and here's what you need. Even if you're a drug user, instead of being overweight, get into some sort of exercise program, just to begin the mental process of thinking through, how do I take care of myself?
Can I answer that?
You should. I was going to turn to you.
With Rise Vermont, one of the things is primary prevention. First, if we establish a community with all these, what we want to do, we're preventing, we're helping the kids of having something to do as opposed to go into, it was not existent when we were young. We were
Right.
active, we were on the farm, we were biking, we were playing, there was something to do. We didn't think about drugs. We need to change that. And the people that are already in, we're trying to establish some health coaching like I have in my office. So any people that come to see me as a patient, we offer them a session of health coaching. People that have chronic disease, like addiction is a chronic disease, then we can allow them to have, a longer follow-up, and then being able to bring them to the community and say, yes, this exists. We can teach you how to be more active and change your life. So that would be my answer to this.
Thank you.
And then when you think about folks with addiction, there are other circumstances that are surrounding them. So life choices, for sure.
Right.
And also the social determinants. What about housing? What about transportation? What about a job, et cetera? So really trying to wrap around them, not just as a hospital, but as a community, to make sure as we're helping them with their addiction, that we're wrapping around them with other aspects of lifestyle. But most important, you see us a lot of work going into the schools and daycares with families to prevent it from the first place, because we want children to feel part of something greater than themselves and feeling purposeful and hopeful, so the decisions that they're making are ones that are healthier versus maybe the ones they're exposed to now. So again, it's really around this wrap around as a community, like not in my community, not in my neighborhood. We're going to kind of take care of each other. It's kind of getting back to the simplicity of having play and activities that are healthy and purposeful.
Just, probably should stop. But one of the things that bugs me, I'm very old, so it's not a matter of children or grandchildren. But when I was a kid, we didn't have all these sports activities where you had to sign up and be at hockey at 6 in the morning and
Yeah.
softball in the afternoon and all that jazz. We just got on our bikes and visited our friends across town. Played with the kids on the street. I grew up in Brooklyn, so we had stickball. We played out on the street. And it seems to me that these organized sports are really taking away from the more integrated neighborhood, the more integrated lifestyle. So I guess, not to put you on the spot, but should we make an effort to stop the integration of the sports mentality and say, get on the street and play with your neighbors?
I don't know if you want to
I
take
think
that.
it's just
It's a
something that will
combination.
happen automatically with time. And I totally agree with you. I'd like to, it's same for me. I don't feel that old, but I do remember this simple play, grabbing a skate, going out to an ice rink that was there. There's no such a thing as waking up and, going to. So if we offer and change it, I think that people will start playing more. And they change it with time. We cannot say, well, we're going to, if you start to put a no, it's not going to be acceptable. But I think that by changing the environment, like we were discussing at the beginning, we'll start having people playing just to play. And it will come with time. Simple answer.
It is going to be a combination, I think, but instead of preventing, let's add more of the opportunity that creates options
change,
for
right.
people that at any levels and abilities, there is something there. And for some, competitive sports is what they want to do. But it shouldn't be the only option. There should be other things, like what you're doing with the town forest and the paving that you're doing just to go down to the bay and be able to walk. It gets people seeing other people doing other things, and it's inspiring. To begin and to be playing together. And so we're in an active play campaign right now, and so we're trying to create some of the simplicity of play, so it can happen for everyone, because it's not all the competitive sports. It can be taking your dog for a walk, playing with your children outside, playing ball. And so we're trying to, re-enter some of those simple play activities that we enjoyed that we were younger.
Right.
And thinking about screen time there's a lot of screen time, and how do we help parents and grandparents with really helping to balance out the screen time that children have, because we are so connected and our children are even more connected. So how do we negotiate screen time and play time? So it's going to take a whole community to
Right.
allow this to work, and we're hoping that we're beginning to be infectious to allow some of these things to happen at the community levels.
Al, we're gonna have to put in some streets, straight streets with some sewers. But you need a sewers to measure how you hit the ball with the stickball.
That's right, I agree. By the way, I was a 3-sewer man,
Good for you.
which means a home run.
Completely different environment.
As a parent of a town, 3 town kids, I mean, my kids do cross the street, they play probably in Brendan's backyard, my neighbors over there. But my oldest daughter would love to bike into town, or would love to bike down to the Bay Park. But I'm not so worried about her getting stolen, I'm more worried about distracted drivers. So for me to let her bike down Lower Newman to go to the library, as much as she wants to do it, I just can't allow it. So I do think a lot of these sidewalk plans will really allow for kids to just get out and make their own fun a little bit more.
You almost need a nosy neighbor keeping track of everybody, make sure every kid is safe.
Right.
Like,
That's that
as we had
neighborhood
in the
watch
cities.
stuff.
Right, right. Well, it was a different, the old lady looking after you, that was more than neighborhood watch. You were afraid.
Didn't dare to go by her house, huh?
Well, you did, but you didn't do anything wrong. Good.
Anything else?
Who funds all of this? I guess that's
As far as the Rise Vermont and the work that we're doing there,
Yeah.
it's really hospital-based right now, and it's our investment into the future and the wellness of the communities. And we're certainly open to public-private partnerships and what that looks like, but really it's how to be a catalyst to stimulate the communities wanting to come together and keep this sustainable over time in partnering with the hospital. But right now it's the hospital, investing in wellness and the health of the communities.
The programs upstairs, if you look at the financial aspect of what people are be looking at to participate, is it insurance covered? What is it? Will it be free? Like NMC has some, NCSS has some free, health, mental wellness programs. I mean, have you thought that far ahead as to what that'll look like for participation?
We haven't completed the programming of what the second floor looks like, but our therapies will be there, and those are therapies that would be covered most likely by insurance. But then there are some things that, as far as well visits, aren't paid for, and we're trying to work with the insurance companies as well, because if we're going to move to a different payment system for hospital where investing in well-being is where you need to be successful, then we need to change the incentives versus seeing a number of patients to really about the quality of life. And so we're in almost our feet are in 2 different canoes in that transition. So we will be offering some pilots that might be free so that we can get the interest and also get the attention of the insurance companies to shift with us in how we're going to pay for these things. So ultimately, with a capitated system, this will be funded. Wellness will be funded, and that's the system we're moving towards. But right now, it's a little bit of both, and some free, for sure.
And
if something's capitated, it'll almost encourage some walk-in use.
right.
Yeah,
non-insurance.
absolutely. And how we work across the community, no matter where the individual is, that we want to make sure that they're staying well and healthy. So it's not just about the hospital, it's about home health, it's what's happening in the communities, it's mental health, it's public health. So we'll be in this together and really encouraging people to be their best self to prevent chronic condition or an acute incident with their condition.
I agree.
Staying healthy is less costly, is simply put.
It takes big incentive to get people to do that, to think
Well,
that
it's
way.
like
Yeah.
it's like a dental insurance paying for free cleanings to prevent cavities. I mean, it's the same line of approach, I would think, and thinking.
Right.
But it's just a lot of folks, especially locally, that could really benefit from this type of program would be, lower income, lower to moderate income families that might either not have insurance and be paying the shared responsibility payment at the end of every year, and then folks that are on either, Medicaid or older folks on Medicare that might not have a good supplement. So I just don't that's where my
really-
mind goes, is to encourage people to use it. The out-of-pocket costs probably going to need to be pretty minimalistic.
And just remember, it's so important for everybody to have a primary care provider because we take all comers and all insurance, whether you have the ability to pay or not. And then we have a wraparound community health team that's a part of that service with primary care. So please encourage everybody to have a primary care because that's sort of where it all starts and the connections happen. And this almost let us kind of worry about how we're going to wrap around with lifestyle medicine because if folks need it, we need to figure out a way. And everybody needs coaching, really. And so how do we get this as a community?
Right.
And we've got to figure out how to do that.
So if anybody hears about this, worry about the money second.
Correct.
If you have a
Get
problem,
in the
see
door.
Brendan.
That's right. Yeah, because we want to figure it out because certainly the payment we're in a little bit of a quandary, but we don't want that to prevent people from getting what they need. Correct.
Right. Get in the door and let the good people sort it out.
That would be you.
He'll be around the longest.
And I know.
Yeah. It's great. It's great.
Just one last, Dr. Fontaine, when is your next walk?
It's every Tuesday at Collinsburg at 5:30.
In the afternoon?
Tomorrow morning,
In the
5:30.
afternoon, and every week there's a new physician that is there to walk with you and give a 5 minutes talk about a topic, and it's actually very fun. So this is a nationally recognized program that was started 10 years ago by a cardiologist who was concerned about the health of his patient. And he challenged them to go for a walk on a Saturday morning. This is now a nationally recognized program to encourage people to be a little bit more active. So we have a lot of physicians that participate. It's a little bit more difficult to have people to come in, so please, if you know people that are interested, that could be, bring them in.
And every Tuesday at 5:30.
Every Tuesday at Collinsburg, 5:30 in the afternoon, and during the fall season, we're going to space it every month, but we will do it like a hike on a Saturday morning. We'll do something not difficult so everybody can do it, and we will do it again next year. So first year, it's will take a little bit of time, but you're more than welcome.
So I have an appointment tomorrow, but next week, the week after, I'll make sure I join you.
And it's for all abilities. It's not something that we're running or fast-paced. It really is more about let's get together, and it's very social, and we walk leisurely at anyone's pace, and you can go as long as you want or as
And you
short.
can bring your dogs and
Yeah,
the
yeah.
kids, and they have place to run around, and it's
Exactly.
really open. So
Okay.
So thank you. We welcome your
Thank you.
feedback on this vision and how we can integrate our strategies for well-being and creating the right environment for our communities to live healthy.
I'd like to thank you for lending us Jessica on a professional basis.
Isn't she amazing?
Oh my God. Fantastic.
We are totally grateful for Jessica. We have an amazing team that's working throughout our communities in Franklin and Grand Isle. We are definitely blessed with the team and the commitment to support our communities and our businesses and our schools. So appreciate it.
For our leadership.
And for our vision, with Dr. Fontaine. So it's great to have a physician that is interested in this and really setting us on a journey to health. So thank you for being part of it. And thanks again,
Thank
Carrie.
you.
You've been amazing to work
Now
with.
you've laid down the gauntlet for the challenge, for the goals.
That's right.
That's right.
We'll see you next
Right.
year.
So when will we be back to share the goals with you?
And what's after that?
What's
Platinum.
after goal? What's after that, Jessica? We're going to take your show on the road because, the other thing I didn't mention is that the work that we're doing here is getting so much talk that it is going across the state of Vermont. So you could be meeting with, leaders in towns across the state of how you did it and how you changed your infrastructure to support healthy lifestyles. So that's what's next, celebrity status.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank
Night.
you.
Jessica, I think, is that your water? You're welcome.
Okay, now back to the agenda. The next item is a town plan public hearing. And Ned, I'm going to put you in the hot seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have a good award, though.
Well, the product is the reward in itself.
The labor of love.
Not sure about that, but okay. I'll take it. This is our, should I start off?
Please, go ahead,
Okay.
yes.
This is our first public hearing of the town plan, and we have one more scheduled. Based on state law, we have to have at least two. Our next one will be sometime in August. I forget the exact date off the top of my head. This is our first one, and we're here for public comment, and unfortunately,
I gotta
So can
make
we
a, I'm
officially
gonna make a
open-
motion to open the public hearing on
Yes.
the town plan.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
key thing, thank you.
Yes, make it legal.
Yeah. Are there any comments? We will, for people in the TV audience, we'll also take them in writing
Okay.
up until at least 2 weeks after our second public hearing.
So,
And copies of the plan are available in the town hall.
At Town Hall, or online, they can get it online, or they can just simply email me and I can get them a copy either way.
And our second hearing in August will be on the 20th, I believe,
Yes,
August 20th. So if you start to read it, want to participate in the second hearing, that's also going to be but that will be our last one.
yeah, that will be the final one. That's where we,
that, I'll make a motion to close the hearing on the town
what,
plan.
sorry, yep, there's a question.
One, I apologize for not having completed it yet, but I did notice a couple of grammatical errors. So should I, rather than bringing them up publicly, just nail them?
Either way is fine with me.
Okay.
Either way. You know where I am most afternoons
right.
and days.
That's it?
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey, thank you, Ned. Sorry, I thought we'd be bombarding you with questions.
That's okay?
And it's really, there's a lot to read, there's a lot to go through, and there's things in there that affect everyone. So it's in everyone's best interest,
Read that.
Read it.
best interest of the town, that people read it and be critical.
Yeah, and we had a good foundation to start from the prior plan. This is really just an update to some modern things and update the information, but also update based on state laws and state requirements.
Okay, Ned, again, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, now, we have some warrants to go through. Start off with the general warrant, Stan.
Yeah, we can start, I have the general warrants dated 7/3 through 7/23, 2018. The total here is $329,430.54. The biggest one is St. Albans Library for $143,861. The next one that threw me, because it's the first time I've ever seen it, I'd have argued if I was here earlier, budget time. $100,000 truck purchase coming out of the general fund. And we had another $16,000 for St. Albans Rec. That's our quarterly payment we pay to the city. I think we're still under the $45,000 that we appropriated. And AmCare was $11,758. But also in there, we have all our health insurance for the town. Physical, mental, dental,
Right.
if it's needed. So, that's the bulk of it, is the three big items, or the four items I
Which truck is
talked about.
this?
The new DPW truck.
Okay,
It was a voted article. that we
voted
voted
article,
on
that's
town
why the
meeting
general
day.
one, all right, okay.
That's, if I looked at all the articles, Anna, that was 400,000 coming out of the general fund for this coming year. I don't think the 30,000,
You're right, you're exactly right.
that's a huge amount of money.
It's the surplus, using some of the surplus.
Yeah. If there's any surplus left, maybe we can give some back to the voters.
There is,
You don't know that yet.
I'm pretty sure.
Share it with us next
Yeah,
next
okay.
meeting.
Now, that's your challenge.
Okay.
Okay, all those in
So,
favor?
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, that's it, Bill. $329,430.54.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, good, thank you. And now you have, what, some payroll warrants?
No, I have general warrants, but I will follow up on the truck issue because I have the other half of that, or two-thirds of the, one-third of the invoice for Clark's Truck Center, an invoice for $61,250.
That's not a general warrant, is it?
No,
No, it's
that's out of the,
Yeah, it's a warrant, Bill.
it's
that's a DPW reserve.
It's out of the
account.
reserve.
out of the reserve
All
funds.
right.
Excuse me. And I also have, well, I guess we'd vote on it separately.
Okay, yeah.
Blanket them all.
Or the second one is for the fire department reserve for $2,616.62. And that was basically for fixing some flats,
Fixing some what?
flat tires. You
How
have to
much?
replace the tires.
It was transportation and some repair to get the boat back, the fire department boat from Delaware to here.
Get two blowouts.
Bob can tell us about it. He told me already.
So we hired a local contractor to go down and get the boat. Charge was gonna be $1,300. He went down with the expectation that he was just gonna have to hook onto this thing and pull it back. We were told that, everything was in fine shape to come up. Well, the tires that are on that trailer are light truck tires, and they aren't made to go over the road on a trailer. They get heated up pretty fast. So right off the bat, he blew a tire. It had a spare on the trailer, and he changed the spare. Then he was going up the road, and he got into New York, and he blew another tire. And so he was going to try and just make it to the next stop. He called me at that point and told me what had happened. I said, well, stop at some repair shop, put the tires on it. I said, give him the phone to me, and I'll give him a credit card number, and we'll take care of the tires. He said, well, I'm going to try and make it to the next stop. He had his wife calling ahead. Well, his wife called this one spot, and he was going by that exit when she called him and told him to stop at this exit. And he goes, I can't turn around. So he just kept going. And well, he got stopped by DOT prior to the next stop with a flat tire on one of the triaxle sides of the thing. They weren't happy. So they started trying to find everything they could about this boat being towed. The good thing about it was it said fireboat on it, and he was hauling it for a fire department. So that was the good thing. He didn't get any fines, but they made him get permits to go from the start of New York to Albany, which he was already at Albany, but they made him get that permit. And then they made him get another permit to go from Albany to Vermont. And then they made him get a permit for Vermont. He goes, why do I have to get a Vermont permit? They said, because we told you you do. So he was held up at this place for another 24 hours at this DOT stop. He had to hire somebody to come change the tires, so it was a road trip, because they wouldn't let him move the trailer. They got him for a wide load because they measured from the brackets, the bumpers on the outside of the boat. So they got him for over width. So he had to get over width decals and flags to pull the boat the rest of the way. So that's why it was $1,313 more, because we paid for the repairs. The tires were $800 and some odd dollars, and then the New York permits were $109 a piece, I think, and then the Vermont one was $87, and then we paid for room and board for one more night because it was an unexpected thing. So that's why it's $2,613 and change.
Bob, you got some flags now.
Yeah, we got some
Yeah,
flags.
we do.
I talked to Bob that day. He was on the phone, and I felt sorry for the guy, and we needed to get the boat here. We do what you got to do to get it here. Bob did, so thank you.
So I have a third invoice to RSG for work on impact fees in the amount of $12,000, $473.18. And finally, an industrial park warrant for $4,000, $476.26. And I move that all these warrants be approved.
comments or questions?
Pardon?
I'm asking any comments or questions?
Oh, I don't.
Okay, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, which raises the question, when are we going to get this report on the impact fees?
We have a scheduled meeting with the consultant, with the select board at the very beginning of October to go over one of the final drafts. So he's working on the final draft right now.
I'm gonna hit the planning commission first.
It wasn't going to, but the planning commission could come to that meeting.
This seems to be going on forever and ever.
We tried to have the meeting at the end of September. It didn't work for a couple people, so we moved it to October 6th, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I was part of the problem.
That's all right. I mean, it's schedules, but it's August, that's 2 months.
Okay, then Brendan, you have some
Yeah.
payroll warrants?
Get to pay people. So I've got 2 warrants. The first one is from June 25th to July 1st, in the amount of $19,442.12. My second payroll warrant is for July 2nd to July 8th, and it's in the amount of $19,846.43. I make a motion we approve them both.
Oh, there's a third one,
There's
sorry.
a third one.
Yep.
Okay, caught me
Yep.
off guard here. Third warrant, July 9th to July 15th, in the amount of $19,060.89, and I'll make a motion I'll amend my motion to include the third warrant.
Okay. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. All right, so all our bills are paid for the moment. Okay, who's going to do minutes? Al, you like the
I can
minutes,
do,
don't you?
I can do the minutes. I have a question. Should I move the question after I make the motion?
Well, probably should clarify it before you make a motion.
Okay, I know Jen's not here, but in the first page, at the very bottom, you have minutes,
Of July 2nd,
Which minutes? Yeah.
July 2nd, right?
okay?
And my only question is on that, should that be moved up to where we are talking about, under the general warrant, where down here, we're talking, Bruce Cheeseman made a motion to approve the select board meeting minutes of June 18th. And he talks about, under B of general warrant, then there'd be, Bruce Cheeseman had a question on the 18 warrant. For consistency's sake, should we just check with Jen whether or not we should move that paragraph up beyond, under the B paragraph?
Whether we should move the one that starts with Alvo's just
Yes.
suggested.
Right.
But then we're still gonna have that the next paragraph is about minutes, so we don't wanna.
So one of the, yeah, but it just doesn't make, when I read it, it seemed to me that the organization needs to be looked at.
So we could move, I think the conversation happened very close, so we could move that first question about $50 down to the
Yep, you could
under
do that.
minutes.
That's fine.
So it starts the minutes conversation.
Yep, that's
'Cause
fine.
it did all have to do with
Get-
the same set of minutes.
Right. So with that suggested change, I move that we approve the minutes as written.
Okay, all those in favor?
You can,
Aye.
Aye, okay.
I would like to clarify, though, that when I was on vacation, the question was posed to change the minutes, and then the request was made to change the minutes online. And we're generally not going to change the minutes online, just because we put the minutes, the draft rough minutes, online within 5 days, as required by law, but then we subsequently do not change it again until this happens, until we all see one draft, and then you can make suggestions beforehand, but we can't change them until the quorum of the select board is in one place and agrees on them.
right.
The only comment I can add to that, Carrie, is the last time I was here, 3 years, I was told that if I saw something,
Yep,
call it in before we brought it down here because the expense of whatever.
and that's still true, but we would make that last, we would revise the copy before this packet. We just don't change the draft online, that's all.
Fine. That-
Okay.
It just, it gets confusing if we were to
But
change it.
it's only a draft minute and it's not final.
It's just
So-
rough, and we make sure we tell people that, so if they go back on looking for something, it's,
But if you don't make the changes, then when you get it down here, then we make the changes, then it goes back. Right, it's gotta go back.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is I still do want the changes ahead of time. It's just that we're not gonna revise the online version.
That's fine.
Yeah.
You can leave it online,
Yeah,
but
yes, whenever you think of
you
it.
can change it before we get it here.
That's right.
The printed copy, right.
Fine, that's,
Yep.
I
Just wanna
think
make
that's
sure.
all. I called in
Yep,
because I was always told to do that.
and it's a good idea. It helps. Because
But-
we do print it sometimes on legal paper,
Okay.
but it's still
Fine,
admin
I-
stuff, so.
I just want to understand it.
Yep. That's all I have. Oh, no, there was
Oh,
another
we got
set.
another meeting.
There's another one on the July 11th, with
Right.
fixing the
Oh.
tax rate.
Tax rate one.
Yep.
Now I lost my place. So I'll move that we, what the hell I do it with it?
July 11th?
Yes.
You want a copy here?
Thank you. I move that we accept our July 11th minutes dealing with the special meeting for the setting the warrant rates,
Tax rate.
tax rate.
Okay, so all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Carrie, you're on.
All right, so the first item under town manager report was the memorial, and community recognition policy draft. We had the first draft at the last meeting. We subsequently got, a copy of actually Collins Purley's memorial policy. So some of it will look familiar to them. And tried to add a little more explanation and direction to avoid any hard feelings going forward. The changes were really things like, we're going to evaluate the names and memorial parts of it. And tried to clarify with a few definitions what we were trying to do with the memorial policy.
The introduction, the first two paragraphs, is this necessary?
I
It's-
couldn't understand it.
It's,
I mean, you're talking about to ensure appropriate recognition, that's fine. The matter shows no prejudice, which is fine. Recognitions are made on a person's contribution rather than their popularity, class standing, or other subjective factors. I mean, come on, who needs this stuff? Personal prejudice or favoritism, political pressure, or temporary popularity shall not be an influence in making a dedication, tribute, or memorial. I don't know.
I guess my question is, what does that mean?
So what? I mean, we have some things we may be memorializing a person, an organization, who knows what. I think we try to hamstring ourselves by being.
you can delete any or all. There wasn't really a whole lot of guidance at the last meeting when you said you wanted more meat, so you can strike it. I don't mind striking it at all.
One other question I did have, I'd like to strike that to start off
Okay.
with. We talk about planned charitable gift. Now, you're talking about a deferred payment?
Not sure.
Or, somebody says, gee, I promised to give you something,
Right.
and in the meantime, we erect a $50,000 statue. And they say, oh, gee, we can't afford that anymore. How do you ensure that the deferred payment is going to be there? That's what I'm asking about.
Well, I mean, honestly, in most cases, I wouldn't build anything until the gift is received.
Okay?
I'm talking,
But we can add that to the policy
I
if you
just
want to
wonder, it's just something
clarify.
to think about.
No, I mean, I wouldn't, for that reason, I would not
Fair
start
enough,
doing
yeah.
anything until I receive the contribution.
Yeah. Ned, sorry.
Planned charitable giving is a financial term I'm going through with some relatives right now. And it's a standard phrase that means essentially they're putting together their will and they're planning.
Well,
to
I
give
understand
to
exactly what it is. That's not my point.
Yeah.
You say, I will endow something.
Yeah.
Well, 15 years down the road, I put a codicil to my will, that endowment's out.
Oh,
You know, so I mean, there's no guarantee. I
You do
mean,
nothing until you
that's
get
all
it.
I'm saying.
Or
yeah.
the stock market crashes.
Exactly, exactly. Yes.
I agree, you'll get the money.
Yeah, I understand it. That's why I asked the question.
So in the end, who does make the decisions on accepting this money?
My intention was that the select board would be doing that.
So for every bench, you wanted the select board to make that decision?
In a way, I think so, because we're adding something permanent to the park, and we're going to be liable for maintenance and so on down the road.
I looked at that as more of like a way to memorialize by, having a select board vote to, like the town of St. Albans authorized a memorial for somebody. Like this is, like the executive board of the municipality is saying, that's your memorial, you paid for it. I mean, it does make it permanent.
Okay.
But
That's a thought.
it adds something to it.
My other comment was regarding the donation amounts. You had a schedule of donations and recognition items on page 2, and I'd asked you separately about the donation relative to the cost of the memorial, and my suggestion is that we put something in there that the donation amount covers the cost of the memorials, whatever they happen to be, including costs of engraving and plaques and whatnot.
So we address that in two ways. One is up above in the red, cost of memorials and tributes kind of indicates that they should not, the costs are borne by the donors. But more importantly, when we built this chart, we were using cost as like a 50% marker because this is a fundraiser for our parks building. So that's generally what we're using for a margin here.
Yeah, I mean,
Was
that's
we
fine.
determined the cost and just to make sure that wasn't a town expense.
My point is that you set this up on the expectation that this was double the cost of the memorial. So the memorial would not cost more than 50% of the donation. That was your reply to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fair enough.
Yep.
I have no issue with that.
Do you want that written somewhere, or you just, that's an assumption?
No, I think it's, I put it in as an asterisk. The donation amount covers covers the cost of the memorial, whatever that happens to be,
Plus the donation.
engraving and whatnot, so, as you go forward.
No hidden costs.
Yeah, they know what they're getting into. And we know what our obligations are.
So have you decided, last time we talked about this, for the stone benches, are we going to have backrests to them or just a flat?
Backs, I think, is what we decided.
We had what?
I think you had two things. One was the granite block.
Right.
Right.
We see these up on the Main Street in the city.
Yeah, that,
Those make a lot of sense, and the other could be,
Yeah, with backs is what we,
with backs.
Right.
Yeah.
which one, the blocks with backs?
no.
No,
The
right.
blocks we were
Seats.
thinking more or less I was thinking for the dock
Well,
at
anyway.
the end of the pier, anywhere really. And then the conversation that we had at the Parks Committee was for a granite bench, not a block. Did we want, a simplistic, just a seat, or did we want it with the back? And I think what changed I originally started, I just wanted it with the seat. And I think what changed my mind was to go with the back was Alan's point of, you could get snow drifting up against the one without a back, and then you could have somebody maybe driving a little erroneously with a snow machine in the winter and, hit it. But that back adds a little bit of a safety measure. It's easier to see. So that's what changed my mind.
And it's easier for people of different abilities to sit on a bench with a back,
Sure, I mean,
frankly, for longer periods of time, so.
Yeah, in my own mind, a bench, whether it be metal or granite, would have something back you can rest on it.
Correct.
And you can engrave the back instead of the, where you'd be seating.
Yeah.
So
Now, when you engrave, can you say things like in loving memory of?
Sure.
Or does it just have to be the person's name?
and we were still talking about, we didn't know if we wanted to just pick in memory of, that way it was the same.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I don't think we should, get too involved in this, as long as it's something appropriate, not offensive.
We have to approve it anyway, so.
Yeah, but something appropriate and not offensive, that's all I can say.
Well, then we have to look at whether or not, these etchings in granite can get pretty complex. So if we wanted to limit
Well-
it to just lettering, that would be something that we should
Well,
talk
if it's
about.
something extraordinary and it adds a lot to the cost, if somebody wants it, they'll be happy to pay for it. I mean, that's,
Do we want to allow it, or do we want to make it uniform?
why not? I mean, it's, why complicate people's lives? I mean, you go into it.
You go to a cemetery, Bill, and most of the benches in a cemetery do not have backs.
Okay.
They do not. The fact is, I don't think I've seen one with a back.
Yeah, in a cemetery, I agree. This is more
It's a park.
a
Yeah.
park, a
Have
recreational area.
functionality.
I guess to Bill's point, though, do we want to have some sort of uniformity? Will it be all the same material for these benches? And then if you want to have an engraving, I mean, a fancy,
Yeah, I think,
Yes.
I don't want to, my own view is not to be lockstep. I know, as long as it's attractive and so on. I mean, somebody wants to have a bench that has squared off corners, or somebody with curved corners, curved backs, why should we get involved with that? It's somebody, their own, it's like a headstone. You pick your headstone, whatever you want. Guy underneath doesn't look at it.
I'd like to keep the design of it uniform, if it was up to me. Just to keep it aesthetically uniform through the park. But
Well,
we'll work on compiling some pictures of everything
yeah,
on that
don't-
list.
Don't forget it. Yeah, you have a whole committee to consult.
Who do you expect to do all this? Do you expect the DPW?
We had talked about, what's necessary to put the,
I'm on the committee too. We had suggested that we could do the base. It's basically, you dig it down and form a concrete base. Usually the granite benches are brought in from the company that actually you order from, and they usually set it. But they gave us the dimensions. Brendan had talked to them and got the dimensions of what the sub base would have to be, and that's very doable by Public Works.
Because most of the granite monuments that I'm familiar with, when you purchase them from whatever people, they come in, they do all the site work. You don't do it. So now if the town is gonna do it all,
If the supplier of the monument will do it, so much the better, as far as I'm concerned.
well, it's a cost basis.
Yeah, well,
It's very laborious.
it gets a little different when you're looking at metal benches or wooden benches, because
Well, the
something that you're gonna need it somewhere to be permanent, where somebody can't throw it in a lake. That kind of a thing, vandalism.
what you're looking at is where the legs of the bench go, and usually it's 2 on the ends or close to it. You have 4 feet total depth, about 3.5 feet worth of stone, and then a 6-inch concrete paver, and then the bench legs affixed to the paver. So Alan and I had talked about that, and we thought, Alan thought that was something that was totally doable, given that we had just purchased a new excavator not that long ago.
so I have one more question. Can people, once you may have your map of the park and where you want to put these benches, can people then select the place that they would like that bench?
I would say, yeah.
I think that raises a very important point. Where do we want these things? So we need a map. And Alan?
I'm actually working on that situation. I think they got to be strategically placed along the lakefront. You can't just put them anywhere in the park. So I'm working on a process where we can have a picture. You can have a book. This spot is this bench. This spot is this bench. That way they can see the view out over the lake.
Well, that may be
So when you have the memorial book, they could actually come in and go, I want to have this bench for my loving wife, and she loves sitting in this area because she liked that angle of the lake. She could actually look and go, oh yeah. I mean, it's very simple. I mean, it's like going to a catalog and going, yep, I want product A or B or C.
Fair enough. There may be people who want to put a memorial near the playground.
Yes.
who knows? You know, so,
Yeah.
You can't be completely rigid, you have to be somewhat.
Well, no, I mean, we had, as a committee, had discussed different areas, like along the walking path and, like you said, the playground. I think we just need to have a cookie cut program so people can just look and see it.
Is this gonna be open for public discussion before they go and design the benches and stuff? Is there gonna be more than one name on a bench? Is somebody just gonna buy one bench? I mean, it's gonna be pretty costly. I mean, I think in order to put some benches out there, I would think that you probably want more than one name on a bench.
We had talked about that.
Our chart that we started with had metal benches, windows, granite benches, and then the windows and the metal benches, that doesn't seem right, but were about 5,000. Then there's a granite block for about, for 2. We're gonna have the trees, giving trees of life, whatever, we haven't decided what we're gonna call them. You could get a memorial stone for 1,000 or a leaf for 500. So there's options, and then it goes up higher on the other end with the granite benches from there.
I would think that
The town is not doing this.
I know that.
These are individuals doing it.
Right, but I'm not gonna, I mean, I'm not rich, so I'm not gonna spend $5,000 for a bench for I love my father and everything, but
For your loving wife.
my wife, I would sell her car for it. You don't have to have
Again,
that
I
on
think
film.
all I can
That
say
would be
is,
attitude.
what's in good taste, now that depends on select board, so,
It's
what's in
okay.
good taste for me may be horrendous for Stan, so, I don't know.
I just didn't know if we were gonna have more than one name on a bench. I mean, I think you'll get more product out of somebody buying a couple of spots on a bench and then purchasing a bench.
Yeah, could be, I mean, it could, I don't know.
If we had somebody that came,
For example, the Cross family, who knows, I don't know.
if somebody wanted to come in and say, you know, I would be willing to pay for half of a bench, and we could have that discussion then, you know,
Well, then,
you
yeah.
want to charge 5, and then if
But
somebody else
that's why
wanted to
we
come
started
along.
with the 2,000, 1,000, and
Right.
$500.
We have a, I
doubles.
mean, it's a
You
menu.
gotta- you said that there are gonna be no
There's
half
other
benches,
options.
no half blocks, no half windows. It's gonna be a bench, a block,
Yeah.
a window, whatever it is.
Right.
Which,
Makes life easier.
and
all
I think
fluid.
the committee has to relook at some of this stuff. And,
Do you want to look at this one more time at the beginning of?
yeah, I think we have to look at another time, yeah.
What other changes, other than removing the first the first few
Well, I think
lines
that-
and the references to the select board
Oh,
approving?
one other thing we talked about.
Yeah.
We talked about any commemorative naming of the building. We're not looking at renaming that building down there, are we?
No, I think, what I took that to mean is if someone wants to put a recognition or some sort of memorial statement, that it would have to be, we'd have to talk about it. If they want to pay for the roof, and we're calling it the blank roof, maybe it, the Nyhan family roof.
Yeah, I think, commemoration of a large donation with an appropriate plaque.
Right, I'm
Roof
just,
was donated by
yep,
Roof.
right,
by somebody.
I know, but
by
I.
Bill Nahan.
Probably the way it's stated.
Bill Nyan's going to donate the roof.
Yeah,
Can we write that down?
In loving memory of Brendan Desaw.
Bill just killed me for saying.
I don't think we're
I
gonna
like
be
it.
here to make that memory.
I might outlive this young kid, right?
Yeah, you might.
All right.
All right, so I'll bring back another
I think it has to
version.
come back and let some people look at it and let
Okay.
the public tear it apart.
Okay.
It's important because this is going to be a long,
Yeah.
lifelong,
Yeah.
infinite policy for developing this park and rehabilitating not only the stone house, but I assume eventually there'll be other things that need
Yeah.
rehabilitating.
And will no doubt evolve some anyway.
And there's a lot of emotion involved with these things, so.
Yep,
there is.
we have to take that into account.
And we have a couple pending requests for that it'd be done, hopefully by the end of the summer.
We meet Wednesday, right? Wednesday at 10?
I'm not sure. It could be, I can't recall right now, I got too much other information. All right, so the next item on here is the select board was noticed on another solar project. This one's off Newton, Lower Newton. You have the application in front of
I
you.
have to say, I haven't read this thing.
And
I
it
just
doesn't,
received it.
I don't think anyone has, we weren't asked for anything specific, it was just copied to us.
This is the one that's closest to the water, the city sewer
No,
plant?
this is the one that's not very far down Lower Newton. I think it's on Hungerford property.
You know, where the city was dumping snow all winter. No,
No,
right before the yeah, where they were offloading snow, right by the state garage and
oh,
the
maybe
National
that
Guard
is the
building.
Down there,
spot,
the
yes.
way-
It's
Yep.
down there by there's some wetlands in the back of the property, and they're like between the road and the wetlands. So
Just a comment, this is off Lower Newton.
Yes,
Last reported solar project was said to be off Lower Newton. Actually, it was off McQuamshaw Road. When
okay.
it was reported.
That's
so
right.
that was,
Yep.
perhaps should be corrected. Back to this.
So there's no action needed, no action requested.
Oh,
have to read it.
They are required to notice the town, and they
Is this the 45-day notice?
believe it is.
Here, be my guest.
You trouble sleeping?
No, I don't have trouble sleeping.
I thought we approved one
I did.
a couple of years ago for a Hungerford property.
That one was closer to Ruse Drive,
Yes,
behind,
Do so, do so.
yep,
that was in the town of St. Albans
Yeah,
too.
do so, yeah.
yep, it's behind Duso Auto Sales, you're right, we did.
And there was some concern, if I can remember, about the road, changing the road to come in up there or something. They were, Northwest Regional Planning was upset with us. Because the highway was gonna go there.
Yeah, you're talking about Federal Street Extension.
The Federal Street Extension.
Might have messed that up.
Huh?
That, would have impinged on the idea with Federal Street.
Yes, it would have.
Yeah.
So this is a different one.
It is. It's farther down Lower Newton. Like, I think it's close to what Brendan was talking about, the V-Trans garage.
Also the Hungerford property?
That property
Yes,
is behind Jeff Duso's all the way to.
Lower Newton.
Must be where they put that housing development? Up the road?
It actually starts towards the city, just past that new development, and it wraps all the way around the state property, all the way up to the Hungerford building on Main Street.
Tommy's got two pieces of land down there. He's got one, the city side of the state garage, and then he's got one down below that where they accessed the old radio antenna for WWSR when they were there. So that field down there, just beyond the trailers and the state garage, as you're going down towards the lake on the right, like just barely got mowed off. That's Tommy's too. So I don't know what land it is that he is trying to do with. There's two pieces down there.
We have nothing to do with it. We have no say in it to begin with.
Not much, no.
To me, this is for information purposes. as far as I'm
That is
concerned.
correct.
Okay, information.
All right.
So I'm gonna move on.
Okay, thank you.
So the next item is a little commercial of our own, that the community opinion survey we've been talking about for probably a month and a half is going to be mailed this week. She said she was hoping it was going out last Friday. It didn't happen. Some of the mail merge stuff took longer. So this week, about 1,500 town residents should be getting a survey. Please take the time to open it up and reply. There are some prizes for the first giving away
This is going to be
some.
not only town residents, but also town taxpayers, even if they're not residents. Is that correct?
Correct, we're using the grand list combined with the voter checklist.
Okay.
And to your question, about a month ago, we are not using Facebook surveys at this time. We're trying to
Okay.
keep it one controlled method, and it's mail right now. So call us if you have any questions or concern, but it shouldn't take too long. It's only a few pages long. And not everyone will get some. Yes, maybe more than one person in the same household. It's addressed specifically to 1,500 residents, so look for it in your mail.
And as you'll see in the letter, this is your chance to speak out and let your opinion be known. So please read it and return it when and if you get one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to add one last thing. We are applying for a grant for the town forest. and I was hoping to get a letter of support. I'm gonna keep one black and white one, and the color one's for Bill. Keep
Just to
this
put
one.
new, what's it for?
So this is for what we previously billed as the master trail plan at the town forest. This is hopefully to get enough money to complete phase 1 and 2, which would create some bike trails, some hiking trails for different people of all abilities. And so the Buildings, Grounds and Services grant is for a little more money. It's about a $25,000 request. And we're hoping to get that funded this summer so that we can start construction next year.
Okay.
So I move that we authorize the chair to sign this letter.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, now I'm gonna change the way I sign these things.
That's not the way?
No,
Sorry.
incorrect, improper.
There it is.
Excuse me.
He wants it changed.
Yeah, I can change it and he can sign it. Ken usually does it, and I don't usually do it. That's obvious. All right, so we can move on. I don't have any more surprises.
Do you have any more things to say?
I do not.
Oh, so if I may, too bad Bill's in the bathroom, so that we move towards our gold award, may I remind people that in St. Albans Town on August 3rd, we will be doing a butt pickup at the Bay Park from 9 to 11 a.m. and in Town Industrial Park from 12 to 2 p.m. So the more citizens that can come out and help us pick up cigarette butts, that will be appreciated. It's twofold. One, not only to clean up the land, but also to remind people the dangers and bad habits of smoking.
So the next phase is, the next part of our agenda is public comment.
Oh, okay.
Any public comment? I have a question, Bob. Where are we on the boat?
Where are we on the boat? We brought the boat to our mechanic over at Northland Motors, who's a certified Mercury mechanic. He also is well-versed in cabin cruisers and stuff where they have the generators and all that. So he's gone through the motors. He called me today. He's gone through the motors. He's actually done a back test on them. He went online and found out the history on the motors of what's been done to them and everything in the past. He said the hours that are on those motors is accurate. It's 280 hours each motor. So he says, you get some good motors there. He says he put new plugs in them. He's changed the gear oil. He actually took the lower units off, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Delaware. Bill, you probably are. If you look at it, it looks like a light chocolate milk most of the time.
Oh,
So
yeah, you're talking about the water.
it's pretty gritty. So they took the lower units off, and they said there was a lot of sand in them. So they cleaned them all out, changed the gear oil in them and everything. He says everything looks really good on them. He's run them, and he's put new water pumps in them. And he's put a new water pump in in the generator that's on board. The shore power, he's checked that. That's all good. He's checked the load tested all the batteries. They're all good. He said boat's in pretty good shape. So we should be getting it. He should be hearing. He'd call me tomorrow probably, and I'll probably be going to get it. And when we get it, we've already had Doug Watson, who's going to be doing the striping and lettering on it. So we've already talked to him and what needs to be done for him to do his part. So I just got to do a little wet sanding on their name, and then Doug's going to come in and put the vinyl and the striping and our lettering on it. And then we're going to put the boat in the water. We've made arrangements to put it over on the dock, and we're probably going to use the rest of the season to train on it and keep our boat until fall, and then put the boat out for bid.
Where are you getting the crew?
Pardon me?
Who's going to be the crew?
Probably
captain
the crew that we currently have, but they have to be trained on this boat. The crew that we have on our boat that we have right now will be the crew that's on that, but until they're trained, we want to keep our boat in the water so we don't use that boat unless Jay or somebody's on it.
Well, how many people do you want to have qualified for the boat?
We'll probably have 5 boat captains qualified on the boat, and then a crew, an onboard crew besides.
And how about the fire apparatus on the boat?
The pumps and stuff, we all know how to run those.
They're being tested.
Yes, we actually operated them when we were in Delaware. We trained on it, and we ran the pump for like 3 hours, and the water cannon and everything on it, the master stream device.
And you have onboard foam?
Onboard foam, yes.
Well, the
30-gallon foam
fresh
tank.
water is going to help the boat a lot.
Pardon me?
Fresh water is going
Has
to
a
help
fresh,
the water.
it has a fresh, yeah, it is actually going to
Yeah,
do,
to the
yeah,
Delaware.
that's what our boat mechanic said. He said, the sooner you get this boat in the water and get her going and get in the water, flush through it, he says, you're better off you're going to be. But yeah, there's a freshwater tank on it that the generator actually runs off from. So that one hasn't been really versed to the other environments. So
That was my question.
Jay's actually, he's already been in contact with the Coast Guard to help train with this. We've been in contact. Jay actually talked to the guys that we bought the boat from and asked them how they trained, and they had a company come in and do some training with them. They spent like $35,000 before they actually put anybody on the boat. But I mean, I don't think we have to do that because we do have, and those guys weren't familiar with boats at all at that. You know, this was a bare crew that didn't have any knowledge on boats at all. So we feel that we might be able to find somebody for a couple grand to come in and do we're going to do an 80-hour course this winter through the Coast Guard. So so that's where we are right now, and that's what Jay's been looking into.
And then during the season, you're probably going to have somebody on standby pretty much all the time.
Pardon me?
During the season, you're probably going to have somebody on standby.
Well,
all the time.
we always do now.
All right, okay,
So,
good.
yep.
Okay, that's it for me. Anybody else? Any other public comment?
What do you say?
What?
What do you say? Anything?
No, just wanted to.
I apologize, I was late. I don't know if anything was announced about the music festival for this coming up Saturday.
I put it on the agenda.
Oh, I don't have a thing, sorry.
No, so you can talk about it. That's what's next, our schedule.
All right, I'm sorry. So the music festival is at the park this Saturday. It's in the afternoon, starts around 3:30, goes till 9:30 in the evening. It's sponsored by 14 Star. They're the ones that actually put all the music together. It's going to be food trucks, 50/50 raffles, games and such. All the proceeds from the benefit is getting split up into thirds. A third of it is going to be donated to the Stone House for repairs. A third of it's going towards the cleanup of Lake Champlain, and another third of it's going to the cleanup of Lake Carmi. So it's a good benefit. It's going to be a lot of fun. It doesn't cost anything to come. It's just buy food and enjoy the music and buy some beer or whatever. So spread the word. It's a good event. Hopefully the weather's good.
What are the planned hours?
Excuse me?
What are the planned hours?
It starts at 3:30 and goes till 9:30 at night.
And you have another event on August 4th.
August 4th, there will be a hot rod show at the Bay Park. The new car dealership, Bocan and Handy Chevy, both sponsored. Donated money, so we were able to buy trophies to give to the cars and whatnot. There'll be food trucks there, also a 50/50 raffle. Working on a radio station to be there right now. But just a fun family event. Come down, look at the cars, and enjoy some food and music, and should be a good activity in the Bay Park. And that's August 4th, and that's from 9 in the morning until 2:30 in the afternoon.
Where are you gonna park the cars, the classics or hot rods? You gonna have room enough for general public?
Yep, yeah, actually gonna display the cars out along the front of the waterfront, actually. They'll be all the way around the stone house. So most of the cars, hopefully it's a dry day, they'll be parked on the grass and that. That way our whole parking lot is for spectators and people coming to look.
When you talked about the music coming up, do you have enough amperage there for your power?
We do. A few years back before I came here, they had upgraded the electrical in the building for the vendors during Bay Day and the musicians. And with the farmers market, we've had a couple bands, and so there's ample music. And they switch out, you know, they're not all going to be set up at the same time. The one band will play, and then they'll switch out in the next one, so.
I know a couple of years ago we talked and there was only like 2 outlets in the stone house.
Yeah, we got a bunch of 30 amp and a couple 50 amp breakers and some 110s.
You're talking, most of that's 110, right?
Well,
110 volts, 20 amp breakers, that's,
yeah, but we have 30 amp breakers and
Yeah.
a couple 50s, but,
How many plugs?
oh, we've got, I want to say probably 10 30 amp breakers, the round plugs that are all tied into boxes, and then we got 2 50 amp breakers, and then you have your regular 110s that you plug in.
I didn't know that music equipment required such high amperage. Good that you got it.
And one more announcement for National Night Out, which is a night that we have in Taylor Park, combining city and town equipment for the police departments. Actually started that initially a while ago. We are doing that Tuesday, August 6th. So if you get a chance to go by, same thing. They have music, they have vendors. Alan had a couple contests last year, and I'll be cooking hot dogs.
Nice.
That's all I have, actually.
What time is that?
I believe it starts at 5:30, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen a poster on that yet. I just know it's the first Tuesday in August every year.
Is it August 6th or 7th?
Might be the 7th. It's the 7th.
I don't know where the one is for that. I can't find
The cover sheet?
it. Yeah,
Because our meeting is
You
on the
didn't have it.
6th.
I didn't see it.
She just gave you the one with the holes in it. Didn't-
No, I didn't see it.
You have a cover sheet to sign for the general warrants, Anna?
General
Yeah, I
warrant.
gave you one. Did you give one?
I did. It has holes in it. It has the 3 punch, but we can print another one if you can't find it. I gave you my only one though.
In here? Yeah, it's not in here.
Let me go print one off.
I don't know. I gave him mine. Jen usually does that apparently.
Go to Jen.
And we have what? Meetings Monday, August 6th and Monday, August 20th. And then the August 20th is going to be the second and final town plan hearing also.
Yeah, there's a
Okay.
calendar right there. I
Find it
just,
off the-
you're right. It is the 7th.
No, I don't know where it went.
National Night. Anna's
They
gonna
handed
print
one
one.
over, I don't know where it
It's
went.
fine.
Did you see it in there, Brendan?
I flipped through, I couldn't find anything that was 3-hole punched.
That's fine. It's, she sent it just
You signed this one already, though.
3 o'clock, so. So our next select board meetings are Monday, August 6th, like Brendan said, and Monday, August 20th. At this point,
Hey, Al, do you
That's
Al,
it.
do you have an update on the pavilion building in Cone Park? I see your trusses are down there.
Trusses are there, lumber just got delivered last week, metal roof's here. So probably before the end of the week, depending on the weather, we'll break ground.
That'll be a really neat project.
Culverts are all in on Bronson Road. Just finalizing some of the ditch work, stone lining. And then I can put all the receipts together for that grant, so. Been a busy season.
and paving is not done quite yet.
No, paving has only been done on Hathaway, for anyone listening. Driveways will all be taken care of. The shoulders will be put on. Hopefully the shoulders, I should have an answer tomorrow, should be starting by the end of this week out on Hathaway. It'll probably be the second week in August when the paving company comes back into town. At that point, they'll do Brigham Road and Bronson.
And Jewett Ave, the railroad crossing?
Yep. Yeah, I'm working with the railroad. Special permits involved there, so I'm working close with the railroad, but I think that shouldn't be a problem.
That'd be great.
So that's it, you can adjourn.
I have a piece of other business.
Oh.
We need to talk about Brigham Road too, give an update at the next meeting.
The Brigham Road?
We just gotta keep it on the burner.
Brigham Road, the DPW project?
Yep.
Oh, absolutely, it is on the burner. We have a meeting Wednesday.
I know, but we gotta have it out for the public by September.
Yep, and we're planning to have some hearings in August and
But if I
September.
don't hear nothing about it, I don't hear anything about it, the people out there don't hear nothing. So we gotta be talking about it. We gotta talk about it.
You want it on the agenda every meeting?
I think we should. though.
Sure, absolutely. And I think after this next meeting, we should be making a lot of progress, and we should start telling people what we're doing.
That is the plan, yeah.
Hey, but,
That's
you
a
know-
good plan, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I have a piece of other business, if I may.
Again, what else? Come on, I thought you had some more.
No,
got
I'm
it.
I'm gonna interrupt it, but that's all right. So we met to set the town tax rate. Was it last week, the week before? But,
July 11th.
yeah, July 11th, our tax rate went up about $1.50 locally. And we got our grand list numbers back, and those were pretty shocking to me, and they really kind of scared me. Our real property grand list growth was about 6 million, Anna? And that's a touch over 0.6% of our grand list, so 0.6%, not 6%. Then we lost taxable personal property, about $5 million, Anna? No?
I'm not sure the figure.
We're getting to that number, but we did lose some personal property. So our taxable, growth, grand list growth, not necessarily grand list, but when you factor in personal property, our growth last fiscal year could be as low as a touch over maybe 0.1%. And there are other indicators other than the grand list that our community is not growing the way it should. And the greatest example would probably be, I would say BFA, their enrollment's down, dramatically. 2011, when I was a freshman, we had over 1,100 students, and now they're projecting around 840 for this next school year. So you've got staff that have been, positions that have been cut through attrition, layoffs. It's scary. And I think the biggest issue that we're not talking about here, because we've already done everything that we can do, is probably water and sewer. I mean, we're working on every avenue that we can to find a resolution for our residents. If you look at the big picture on what's coming down the pike in Franklin County, Swanton has water and sewer, Enosburg, water and sewer, Alberg, water and sewer, Highgate, they've just put in new sidewalks. In their center, they have an airport, runway lengthening coming down the pike. They're talking about bringing a Swanton water line down to the airport to allow private development of industrial warehousing with sprinkler systems that would support something like a small cargo outfit, such as a UPS or a FedEx. They have Highgate's also purchased property not far from their municipal building, and they're studying whether or not to do a library there. What's the best use of that community? So Highgate's working hard to improve themselves. Swanton has municipal water and sewer. They're actively looking at ways to expand their industrial capabilities. They are further, they are closer to the border than we are. We've thrown around being called the gateway to New England from Montreal. If they get ahead on the ball, we won't be. We're not that St. Albans versus Swanton, when you're a fact finder for a business looking to locate in a certain area, we don't mean anything. I mean, I love St. Albans, I like Swanton too, but anyway, Alberg, Municipal Water and Sewer, they also completed a sidewalk project. They're also looking to better themselves. Enosburg just received a planning grant for their village. They want to revitalize their village, whether that's a TIF finance or how they do that. They're going to start to study that. So leading back into the maybe over 0.1% in taxable growth in our town last year, I think that that's going to be a regular number unless we settle this water and sewer debate. I think that it is a pretty good bet that our summary judgment motion will come back in such a way that creates a moratorium on water and sewer hookups in the town. I think that's a reckless path that I thought we tried to avoid.
Look,
And, well, let me finish here.
I'm going to ask, what's your point?
So we had sent a letter, Bill had sent a letter to the city, which was reported by the messenger not long ago, and giving our stance on water and sewer negotiations. And I, as 1/5 of this board, take that as it will, and a resident, and somebody that wants to, live, work, and raise a family around here, I would really appreciate it if city officials would reconsider their stance on negotiations. And take that as it will. We have to work together as neighboring municipalities to serve our collective community. I mean, the city and the town, I view it as one collective community. And I think that we need to come together to solve this issue so that we can grow into the future. Because other communities are trying to get ahead on us. And I think they will.
Oh, one thing you forgot to mention, and we should be proud of, Brendan, is we have the largest grand list in the county.
We do. We do. Almost $1 billion.
We should be very proud of that.
But we need to grow it to maintain a stable tax rate and to be able to make the investments that we need to make to remain
Either that
viable.
or stop spending.
That's the other side of it, exactly.
That's another option.
Exactly.
When you talked about your tax rate, if we hadn't given $300,000 back, what it would have been? It'd have been increased by 40 cents. It'd been the number. Instead of 37, it'd have been 40. So
Right.
we gotta watch how we spend. We gotta manage our money better if we're doom and gloom coming. I don't see doom and gloom yet.
I think we could get there.
We can always get there by spending money foolishly. You'll get there quickly.
Well, I mean, we look at the state we're in now. We have municipal buildings that are in disrepair. I mean, we're working on that. I mean, we've got to make some investments into the
Let's not
future.
worry about the state.
Right.
First of all, under the rules, Brendan can talk as long as he wants by our own rules of order.
Okay, fine, but as long as it makes sense.
Doesn't have to make sense, he can talk as long as he wants. I want to also add that I support Brendan 100%. I think his outlook is what's important to this town, and we do have to get off our butts and start looking at water and sewer, working with the city as a equal partner to the community of St. Albans.
I think, and again, I think that this board is doing everything it can.
Not necessarily.
Well, I look for the city to, try to come back into the room and see if we can't negotiate something.
I agree with that.
So that's where I'm at. But anyway, thank
Anything
you.
else?
No, thank you.
Okay. Just to correct you, our grand list growth was 0.6%.
And then when you factor in a potential loss of personal property, our taxable growth,
But you have to understand, Brendan, the personal property.
fluctuates.
You can only tax the municipal tax rate on personal property. You can't tax it school.
well, looking at just what we can control, that
Right.
impacts our budget and our revenues.
And it's a movable feast depending on what's in the town at the time, so it's not something that's manageable. Okay.
Even if you want to look at it as 0.6, I don't think that that's a sustainable number.
It's
okay.
a fact.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Anybody opposed?
No, I'm in favor of it.
I'm in favor. Thank you. So we stand adjourned.